Earth is this tangible conduit from which we as flesh and blood humans can feel the heavenly aspect of God's love. We're connected to God, but we're in this inherently fallen, fucked up state, spiritually speaking and physically speaking, right? And this amazing life coach I know, Kalimba, she told me that she has a couple non-negotiables in her day, and one of them is like 10 minutes in nature. And what better way to feel God's love is than to feel it surrounded by God's natural creation. And my friend today, Sean, at the church service, he told me like, well, God wrote two books, the Bible and nature. And I'm like, okay, that's a nice feel. And look, I feel God's love in a church for sure, but it takes more mental gymnastics, and I mean that in a skilled sense, not disparagingly. You know, gymnastics are hard. But humans are naturally going to feel God in nature before they feel God in the building, point blank period. And I'm not trying to roast the Abrahamics, I'm not trying to roast anybody with this. But, you know, when I was walking down Center Island, the Carmel Mission Basilica, hearing the vague chants playing in the church, I felt like I was walking with God in the midst of God ascending into heaven. And unfortunately, like, I was crying. Like, most people are not going to feel that because they haven't gone through the metaphysical hell that I've gone through, and they haven't done the study of Jesus that I have. And I'm not trying to say I'm better than anybody. This is just like a logistic fact. You know, I've dreamt of Jesus. I've seen his wounds. I've cried for them. I almost died. Saw Christ in the light before I turned back and re-entered my fucking body. I experienced Christ in ways that, logistically speaking, most haven't. And I'm incredibly blessed to have these experiences. And, you know, obviously, unfortunately, most people are not going to have that experience with a man who died thousands of years ago who they never knew and never cared to know. And to add a bloodline aspect to this analysis of feeling God within a church, people that go out to the church and don't feel anything, they're probably descended from people who didn't care to practice religion beyond a service level anyways. I am blessed to come from two Catholic bloodlines, from women who prayed the rosary on both maternal and paternal sides, and nurtured a relationship with Mother Mary over generations, which manifested in my kind of particular hyper-religiosity, right? Jesus through Mary is a huge thing in Catholic theology, and I also pray in Aramaic, Hebrew, Sumerian, Ancient Egyptian. That's the nice word. I'm not trying to show off, but I'm just trying to explain that exposures to these things prime me for deeply religious experiences in the Abrahamic framework. This is part of why I walk into a new church service and I cry every fucking time. There's a really good analogy that I came up with in terms of having religious experiences in a church versus nature. So, look, let's say the church is a series finale. And the series finale is going to mean a lot to somebody who's watched the entire series. And it's going to mean even more to that crazy super fan who not only watched the entire series, but read the entire lore, read the comic book, read all the fanfiction, cosplayed as a character, met the creator standing in line all fucking day in the sun in Comic-Con, right? Has their room covered in all this, the stuff from the series, right? And that series finale is gonna, like, probably make that person cry, puke, go fucking nuts. And the person who hasn't done all those things might watch the series finale and be like, oh, that's cool, that's nice production value, whatever. But they're ultimately not going to care as much or be as affected because they have not been primed correctly to have the optimal experience while watching the series finale. You have to know what the fuck you're watching so you can understand it. And it kind of makes that mean with the optimal Shrek zone. It's like the ideal Shrek zone. It's where the retired submarine engineer's like, yeah, the IQ function drops and the submersible loses oxygen. Your brain drops into the ideal Shrek zone. The perfect mental state to enjoy Shrek. It's like a joke on the fucking people that died in the Titanic thing. Rest in peace to them, I guess. But, you know, but anyways, the person that's going into this series finale not knowing any of the lore, the person going into the church that doesn't know anything about the church, if they talk, say, oh, it was an okay thing, you know, that doesn't take away from the inherent storyline and production quality of the given work, but they just don't experience it in its fullest because they didn't do their homework. They didn't watch the series, so how are they going to care? If you don't read your Bible and you walk into a church, you're not going to feel shit. If you don't do research on what the Bible is, the context of the Bible, the history of the Bible, you're not going to give a fuck. And, you know, so people walk into church and they're like, oh, I don't feel anything. And it's like, well, yeah, like, have you read the lore? No, so of course you're not going to feel shit. And, you know, heights of religious experience in Abrahamism, they require serious study. Whereas heights of religious experience in a more nature-focused natural spirituality, there's kind of less of a learning curve. It's more natural, inherent to the human being. And I'm saying that these experiences are less palpable or powerful than the Abrahamic experiences, but they're just different, and they're more intuitive. You know, one of the friends of the Danzas Tech recipient was an Irish Catholic woman, married to a Hispanic man, and she was telling me that she felt something spiritual from that religious ceremony, the Danzas Tech, that she didn't feel in a church. And it's like, well, of course you're not going to feel it in the church because you have to prime yourself a lot for that. And that's okay that you didn't prime yourself for it. But it's just kind of a logistics thing. Not even me trying to be an asshole.